Right on cue with our normal press cycle, the next expansion set for Star Wars Destiny has been announced.
We're joined by the other Mike Hill to talk about his non-Thrawn Snoke win at my local FLGS for the Ohio Regional.
And with the updated rules reference, we discuss the news in depth. Do we mourn the passing of Thrawn Snoke and OTK decks?
Give yourself.
This is episode 113, Destiny Overload.
You have been well trained.
No. You don't have to carry a sword to be powerful.
I won't fail you.
Oh, do not.
I'm not afraid.
Please don't try.
Welcome back, everyone, for another week of the Chance Cube. Normally, the last show, we say, well, we're going to talk about the next show, and then usually something happens that changes our minds. So we're going to push our theme discussion for next week of themed cards in the most recent set, because we've had too much happen to do anything else except for talk about the news that's been going on. And we're gonna bypass our normal banter where me and Kim and Mike just fill in 10 minutes to make the show an appropriate length, and talk to this guy.
All the secrets. He's telling all the secrets tonight. Jeez Louise.
Floating above Mike Hill's head over here, if you're watching the video or watching live. This is the other Mike Hill.
The other Mike Hill.
Part of Kim's local play group in the Ohio area. And,
Mike runs that show. Let's just be honest. Mike Hill here is the leader of that play group, and he's amazing. So don't give me any credit. It's all him.
We obviously know he's amazing because
he's amazing.
Anybody who follows the regional action across the country, there were at least 6 regionals we know of this last weekend, 5 of which were won by Thrawn Snoke, pre-rules errata, power of the Force, balance, whatever, update. And then this guy who decided to take Kylo Ren 2 and Wullf Yularen. And if I saw your record correctly, you faced Thrawn Snoke 5 times and only lost once.
Yep. Once in Swiss, and then I didn't lose again. I mean, I dropped a game in top 8 and top 4, but I won matches.
But you won, and it's like you're 5 minutes of Destiny fame. Everybody wants a piece of this action because no one saw this deck coming, it seems like. And we'll leave it to you. Who are you, Mike Hill, aside from in part of Kim's local play group? Because that's not enough to tell us who Mike Hill is and how he started playing this.
Pretty good start. I don't know. I'm just a guy who likes to play Destiny. I have a good local play group. I love to deck build. I love to try new things. And with Thrawn Snoke being the meta sort of boogeyman that it was, I wanted to try to find something I thought could win that wasn't Leia Yoda, because I always sort of like to tread the unproven path, and doing something somebody else didn't feel fun to me. So it came down to testing and play, and I've always played a lot of Kylo, and I love the way Wullf looked, and it came together. It's a story, but it's ultimately it's as simple as they work together well, and able to throw something together that I thought had a good percentage. It worked.
Sure did work.
Yeah, and we do have your your deck list. If anybody is out there, it is up on SW Destiny DB with a full write up and report of the day's events. Like we said, it's pretty impressive to see something come out of the blue, especially in a meta where people don't feel like there's anything that can combat Thrawn Snoke, and you come up with this pairing that's pretty amazing. And for those who either don't want to take time to read, too long didn't read, can you give us a rundown of what was the thoughts behind it, what's going into it, play and all that stuff?
Yeah, and the first thing I want to say too before I go any farther is that my top cut matches were close. I think everybody that I played every single round was very talented. They got there for a reason, and their card choices were on point, their play was on point, great sportsmen. And so it wasn't one of those things where I would say I made this deck and it was great and I beat everyone. That's sort of what happened, but ultimately it's it's the end result of a lot of work. I don't want to but when I built it, it was sort of designed, how do I take out Thrawn Snoke? Because I know good players are going to be playing it, and how do you beat it? So it comes down to, I think you either have to take out resources or you have to target the hand, because resources, the Yoda Leia deck handles that pretty well. But if you can find some way to prevent the stuff ever dropping out of hand, I think you can do much the same thing. Make the resources have less value. And, that's where Wullf came in. And Wullf, giving you perfect knowledge, a lot like Thrawn does, also allows you to sort of put a 17-point character with him that can take advantage of that information. And Kylo is a character that does that. So then it came down to, how do you maximize Kylo? How do you win a game when you're basically playing with one damage-dealing character? So you have to hit the 2 as best you can. Wullf helps you with that a lot in the sequencing. And, Kylo, his die is okay, but resolving the 1 and the 2 for a resource won't win you the game. So Wullf's focus matters a lot too. Can you bounce to a 2 focus? Can you fix your damage? And if you're going to do that, can you prevent it from being controlled? And all of those things were part of that deck. In the early drafts of it, as they came together, it was cool, but it didn't do enough damage. So in go lightsaber throw, in go conflicted, in goes, some of that stuff to push a little harder. And we got to there, but then we were sort of running low on the control side. And that's the Dark Presence and, the stuff like that, the zero drops, the sound the alarm, sort of the weird cards that force rerolls or that sort of put your opponent in a bad position where they have to activate like a TIE fighter if they're on Snoke to eat your Dark Presence roll, where that's not the first play they want to normally make. And so a lot of that stuff kind of came together, and it coalesced well, and it played well. So it's one of those things that is kind of a perfect storm. A lot of things came together that played well together, and that developed well.
What would you say is your most clutch card?
So there are a lot of them. Dark Presence was awesome. Really impactful when it came down for a 0 cost, but many sets old. Question Loyalty probably won me a game in Swiss. Both power action saw a hand on a Thrawn Snoke player, and so they had drawn 2 Vader's Fist at the beginning of the game, and a lot of times you're going to lose to that if they've got that early. But I rolled out, Wullf, and they did their thing, and they rolled Thrawn, and I was able to Question Loyalty, call Vader's Fist, discard both, and win the game. Wow. So you see plays like that sometimes too, where you have some of these cards that I would say cards that affect the way your opponent plays your clutch cards. And so cards like Dark Presence and cards like Question Loyalty that completely change the dynamic of how you sequence a turn are effective. And then Wullf himself, being both disruptive and fixing for you, helps you optimize plays.
Very nice. I like how this deck is very, you have to activate very sequential to make everything pop off. It's a very thinky deck, it looks like. I've
heard that said many times, yeah.
It would be very easy probably to go 0-7 with that deck rather than, 5-2 or 6-1.
Yeah.
Because it is like that. If you aren't sequencing Wullf correctly, for example, or if you get too eager to roll Kylo and whiff and get controlled, like those things will cost you games. Right. Because the entire deck is built to eliminate control in the opponent's hand, to activate Kylo into a free sort of resolved state where you can focus and get maximum damage.
Right. Yeah, I've been playing Emo Kids and Kylo variants for a long time, and I've always noticed that some of these like out of hand damage cards have always had to be slotted in, and with Kylo too, like you always need to be hitting that 2 to make it worth it. It's I like the pair with Wullf. I didn't even think about this until I had seen your deck list after your win. So very cool, very very cool build.
Did you get a lot of use out of Questioned Loyalty? It's a card I don't see much of because you generally play around discard sides on a die. Well, the thing is, where Questioned Loyalty I think is really good is, Wullf is going to be rolled in first probably 90% of the time. The only time you'd roll Kylo in first is if it's the end of the game and you just have to kind of go for it. Mm-hmm. So if Wullf comes in and you power actioned, or you could power action and he rolls the discard, things happen. Dark Presence might activate and remove a die, which is great, and then Question Loyalty comes live too. So if you've seen the hand, there's another piece of control. And it clears the way. It's all about clearing the way. Probe does the same thing. It's about clearing the way for Kylo to activate cleanly. Or in the case of Question Loyalty, sometimes it's about prohibiting their best move. So once you've seen it, that discard is, 2 out of 6 sides, and you've got 2 die. So it's not 100% or anything, but I'd say half the time. We're very close to it. So it's reliable, semi-reliable. And if you see a focus, then you feel pretty good too, because you're going to be able to bounce to the 2 and resolve Kylo, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
What was your... Why the loss against DJ Snoke?
Oh, that was bad. Just well played. is a good player, and it's one of those things where you can bring the best deck in the world, but a good player is going to give you trouble. It's true in top 8, and it's true in top. The DJ Snoke game in particular, I started reasonably strong, but DJ's indirect damage was able to kind of play a factor. He was doing things, he's sequencing things differently than I had seen through the day, and by the time I'd adapted, he got a lot of indirect damage off. And it was just hard to come back from, because the weakness of the deck is the fact that it's 22 health priest, and it's enough, I think, in a lot of matchups because you're faster than a lot of matchups. But in that particular case, it wasn't. He got ahead of me on damage and was able to seal the deal.
Yeah, and if you can't dig those Force illusions out quickly, you're never gonna last.
Right.
What was your number one attachment on Kylo, weapon on Kylo, you would say? Like, what are you looking to pull? Ancient? Yeah.
Well, the thing about Ancient is when you're dealing with a situation where your entire deck is designed around removal, I guess, from a hand, and then focusing. +3 is the best you're going to do.
Yeah.
Crossguard is better mid to late game when the 1 damage can surprise your opponent. I think in top 4 I was able to play a Crossguard to kill Snoke to end the game. It was 1 damage left, and I had it. I played it. That was big. So it's like you want to have those later for the surprise damage, but the Ancient does so much. It diverts damage to Wullf sometimes if people are like, oh, I don't want to dig through that, and the +3 is just dirty.
Yeah, and if there's a +3, yeah, someone's gonna ignore that Crossguard 1 and try and get that Ancient off the board for sure. Force speed was an interesting call. Was it definitely making the game a lot quicker?
Well, it's in there for a couple of reasons. It's in there because I think a shield and a focus are actually fine sides. The focus especially because you can again use it to bounce to 2 focus. Mm-hmm. As far as force speed action goes, it's more about getting in damage together. I have a lot of damage that doesn't go off at once. Like a lightsaber throw, conflicted, or a crossguard, and then a Kylo resolve, or a focus and a turn, and it's kind of about just shrinking the amount of actions it takes to do what you have on the board. It's less about getting around control and more about just sort of getting everything condensed and lined up nice so you can get ahead of their damage a little bit.
Interesting.
Now, Mike, I know the event of the day was a long day.
Yes, it was.
Like I know you guys were there for a really long time. So was that? Oh my gosh, was that? Because I kept messaging the shop to see how things were going, but was that DJ Snoke the toughest matchup you'd say, or what was your toughest matchup over the day?
So here's what I would say to that. I would say the toughest matchup wasn't a deck; it was a player. Sure. And I think all of my top cut opponents were very good. And so
there were some good players. Yeah,
it was a question less of like, oh, can I beat this deck? And it was more because this deck, and you guys sort of said it, it's a very heady deck. You have to kind of be thinking about what you're doing, and if you can use your perfect information, you can use your sequencing, you can beat a lot of stuff as long as you're kind of aware of what they're doing and you can get ahead of it. But a really good player is always going to be able to work around you and frustrate you and sort of try to de-optimize you while you're trying to optimize yourself. And so that stuff almost was harder than a particular matchup. But if I had to say, this was the hardest, probably the mill deck that I beat. 3 wide was hard. And, it's just one of those things. You got 1 damage dealing character. You got 3 colors. You can make it work. You can always make it work. And I did, but it was hard. It was a difficult game because that was a situation where I was on a clock and it was ticking.
I bet. So do you think you'll keep playing this deck? Are you going to change it up a little bit now that you've had success, or?
I don't know. I like to create stuff. I like to invent stuff. Right. This deck is cool. This deck has further places it can go. I think if the meta changes away after the balance, and I'm not sure that it will, but if it does, then, there's always that possibility that the deck changes or I play something else. I like playing Kylo competitively. I might still. But there's a lot of things. I think, there's a lot of things I'd like to try.
Yeah, and say that's one thing that I know we can always look forward to you bringing in a cool deck on Wednesday night to test out and check out. You've always had some great decks coming in.
Yeah, it's the fun part for me, really. Made more fun by the fact that one of them worked competitively. So.
Sure, yeah.
Right?
Well, we were all very excited, so.
Yeah. Darth Binkley in the chat was asking, was the final 2 games that happened to swing your way, or was fatigue a factor for your opponent?
It was actually the same opponent that I played in round 7. So my surprise was gone. You know what I mean? It's like he knew what I was doing. I actually offered. I was tired. I offered to do a best of 1. He wanted to play the match. I said, that's fine. We'll play it out. And things just fell my way. You know, a lot of things worked how I wanted. He was not able to get his plays off. I frustrated a lot of what he was trying to do. And yeah, it was late. I can't speak for him as far as how peak performance he was at that point, but it was after 10 o'clock as we were playing that last round. So
what time did the...
or 1, I guess. I can't remember now. It was a long day.
Long day.
Yeah, I feel like regional should always start like at 10 o'clock in the morning.
It wouldn't be so bad. Yeah, when you start doing that cut, then you're required to do the best out of. We even double checked it that day.
Yes.
To make sure.
Yeah,
and we went, oh my gosh, this is going to last a really long time. We almost should have swung back out when we were on our way back home, because I think you guys were still playing.
Well, it was crazy. You know, that mall, man, it's a little dilapidated anyway, but it was completely empty. It was, you know, a couple of employees, me, my opponent, and, you know, 1 or 2 of his teammates. So it was an interesting experience. You know, it was very quiet. It was very focused. It was very just the game and just nothing, because it's in a mall and it was pretty well closed. So it was a cool atmosphere for that game, certainly. But it was a long day.
Yeah. I always feel like top cuts are, I mean, right, they're necessary in the way they are played, and how many games you play, but they're so anticlimactic, right? You go through Swiss, you got all these people and this energy around, then, you know, very few actually stay through the end, and then, like you said, at the end you've got like 6 people standing around, maybe.
I would agree, but I would say too, for the player, it's probably the best high you could get when you win one of those games. I mean, the rush of winning a top 4 game against a totally quality opponent in a match that could have gone either way. And there could be 1 person or 20. It's still going to have that same feeling of being incredible.
Yeah.
So, you know, I get it, but match destiny is great destiny, especially when you have quality opponents.
Yeah. And last question before we let you go, and Kim, you can chime in on this too. And last week we talked a lot about the apparent lack of attendance at some of these regionals, and then yet we hear you guys had quite a showing there, which was impressive and encouraging. And I don't know if, you know, what could have attributed that. Was it a local thing, or do we think, you know, the dates have been announced far enough in advance that people will make plans for this? What are your thoughts?
A lot of factors. I mean, one of it maybe is location. I mean, some of it could be local groups dying, but I don't. You know, I tend to think that the people that were into it enough to go to regionals last year, for the large part, of, you know, maintained interest. I think that some of it's the meta. If you're worried it's going to be Thrawn Snoke every time you go, do you want to play? Because you're either playing, you know, I would argue there was a choice at one point between trying to roll Vader and see if it works, trying to roll vehicles and see if it works, or you're playing Yoda Leia or Thrawn Snoke. And if that doesn't appeal to you, then why go? You know what I mean? So I think there are a lot of factors like that. I think the game hit a weird spot a couple sets ago with very little content. That was hard, but I think it's in a good spot now. So you know, it's hard to say. I think I'd be interested to see what happens going forward, because Chicago is large too.
Very cool.
Yep, I would totally agree. I think we got lucky this year that the regional was a little more centrally located in Ohio. So you could get folks from Columbus, you could get people from Cincinnati, you could get our local crowd, and
absolutely,
I think that helped.
Yeah, and I played opponents from Indiana and Michigan.
Nice.
We do pretty well. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, the other Mike Hill, thanks for joining us. Congratulations on your win with
absolutely,
as you say, the curveball deck that no one saw coming, and now everybody's going to try out next week. If they feel
I think I'm sure we'll see that a lot of places.
There's a lot of people are interested in at least building it and seeing how it plays, how it feels, because that's it's exciting. And thank you for, you know, letting out there for everybody to see and play around with. That's
well, thanks, guys.
Thank you, Mike, and Mike too. Thanks for being such a good leader in our local group. So you're certainly keeping Destiny alive in our neck of the woods.
Doing my best.
All right, and so we're gonna jump into the news.
All right, see you.
Let me take that back, huh? You'll find what you need.
Well, it was wonderful to hear from Mike Hill, the other Mike Hill. Now we're back to a solo Mike Hill show.
Sorry, Mike Hill.
Good.
But as we mentioned,
Mike Hill.
There's only one room. As we mentioned, the regional wins this last weekend in New South Wales, New Mexico, Illinois, Quebec, British Columbia, all won by Elite Thrawn, Elite Snoke for its last hurrah in that form. Ohio, of course, you just heard from Mike Hill, who won with Kylo Ren 2 and Wullf Yularen. I did say, looking through the results of those regionals, it looks like there was some good showing from the new gen Cassian pairing. Vader Jawa seems to be a
I saw a couple of those
fan favorites, and Poe 2 is coming out either with Hondo or with the new Han. Seeing a couple of them flying around, so
nice.
there's a meta. I'm assuming we'll see more from these decks since they weren't touched by the recent errata and rules updates. That we'll start seeing them more, hopefully evenly. But we're jumping to the news officially. Finally got a rules reference update and a holocron update, which was not accompanied by an article from a Fantasy Flight. If you noticed that, they didn't come out and say here it is.
Effective 11/27 as well.
Okay, so here's my soapbox. Right, everybody's blaming Lucasfilm. Why is everybody blaming Lucasfilm?
I don't even understand how that's a thing.
Right, I know they have to go through approvals, but Lucasfilm's not sitting on these rules references trying to approve them if they want to errata Snoke. Like
they don't care. They don't care.
Maybe someone there plays Destiny.
I feel like that's a leak from FFG to be like, let's put the heat over on Lucasfilms. Maybe people will jump on that bandwagon.
No. Like Lucasfilm cares about flavor text and the art on the card. That's about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
just saying. That, and I'm sure that's a pretty quick skim that they do. Maybe got stuck in somebody's Thanksgiving email box, but
I don't know. Let's call up Dan Z and see if he can pull some of his contacts and find out.
Yeah.
How much they actually? We should see if we can get the guy who's on the Lucasfilm side of approvals. Maybe I'll talk to him sometime.
That would be fancy.
I don't know. Anyways, so rules reference update, holocron update. If you like reading articles, Your Destiny put out a great article. Their thoughts on the rules reference update. We're going to go through kind of the big new things here, which is the balance of the force and the 4 erratas. Almost everything else in the rules reference has been mentioned in the official FFG rules forums. So they basically took all that text and fitted in the rules reference where it needed to go.
I'm glad they did, though. Like it certainly tidied it up a little bit and clarified stuff, because not everybody signs onto those forums and sees it. You know what I mean? So at least this way it's out there. And it was, because I read through everything looking for what's red, and sometimes it was just as simple as adding the word card to some. I mean, but it was necessary clarifications, I think.
Sure. And so if you listen to the show for a while, or if you follow all the forums and everything, then most of the rules reference update was not news to you. The biggest news, however, is what we're going to discuss here. So balance of the force, right?
Bam.
The biggest impact as far as the rules reference and holocrons go is Snoke has been balanced up a point. So now he's 12-14. There's a lot of mixed feelings out there on whether this is going to make a difference.
I think it will.
12. I think it's going to encourage people to not play them.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it makes them less potent.
It's still going to get played.
It's just going to have to be different pairings, and I don't know if it'll be as strong as the Thrawn pairing.
Right. So this gets rid of Elite Snoke, Elite Thrawn. It gets rid of Snoke Afro Battle Droid. It gets rid of Snoke Kylo. Those were kind of the big Snoke decks from the current and past meta. Is 1 point enough now that negative point plot cards have been revealed? I mean, you can do Elite Snoke, Elite Thrawn, and the blue negative 1 pointer that just does 2 damage, right? So you essentially would start with 2 damage, probably on Thrawn, right? Because he's the moneymaker or whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter where you put it. Or is Elite Thrawn single dice Snoke with some sort of 2 point plot card? I don't know.
2 damage is kind of a lot. I mean, when these pairings get a little bit squishy, so.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what. Hang on. My Google Foo. I need my Google Foo. I'm trying to think what the other plot.
I think there's only Yeah, there's only one -1 plot that will work with that.
Is there just the
pairing.
one? Okay.
Yeah, the other two.
Oh,
he doesn't
yeah,
have qualifications for. So I don't know. I think it's one of those things. Psychologically, it'll discourage this deck being played. I don't think it's going to make this deck disappear.
I
don't think so either.
But
we'll see.
We'll see.
I mean,
no, everybody's going to be playing Kylo Wullf. I had to go look up Wullf. Like, I walked in. I wasn't able to participate, so I got there a little after they started. So I'm talking to the shop guys, and they're telling me what this is, and I'm like, who? What? Who? So I walk away, and we're looking throughout the store, and I'm like, that guy? That was
Wullf, which is different than Tarkin's first name, Wullf.
It was very confusing. I was not even familiar with him. Like, I was not familiar with this character in any way, shape, or form. Like, before, not from canon.
He's always seen and never talked about. He was in the Clone Wars plot, I think. I'm making that up.
That guy. Like,
that guy. The guy at the table. Next to the empty seat, which was supposed to be for Krennic that they retconned.
And you know what, though? But that was interesting. Like, I like that. So I hope we see more things like that. Like, make me look deeper at that pairing, because I hadn't thought of that yet. Like, that's what I enjoy most about this game. So I hope these shift a little bit of that so that we get some more stuff flowing to the top.
Yeah. Well, I honestly think, now I'm going off topic, now that we're so close to rotation, so many people are thinking about rotation, that like this regional meta is going to be a little weird, because
I think so too.
There's a lot of interest on Trilogy right now because of the rotation. There is I don't know. And now that this has happened, who knows what's going to happen with Snoke and his future pairings. I heard someone say they were surprised that maybe another Hyperloops article that they were surprised Yoda didn't get balanced along with this. So the rise of Yoda, maybe who knows what we'll see. I mean, Leia Yoda is kind of on its rise right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Bullsh.
Well, yeah, and Jeremy, I know when we had talked to him previously, or maybe it was in an article, but had mentioned that they were surprised by Snoke being as popular and as big in the meta. Mm-hmm. They didn't see that one coming. I think we've talked about that before.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised they didn't errata him, but balancing it, whatever. Take it for what it is. Yep. But speaking of erratas, so Snoke was balanced to help with those with all the Snoke decks, right? To try to get some variety. But there were 4 erratas, all of which were basically trying to destroy the rise of the OTK deck, the draw all your deck and then pummel a bunch of damage in one turn cards. First of which is a Ward Ceremony. This is the card that it's from Awakenings, right? Spot a red character to draw cards.
No one ever used this card before.
Equal to the number of exhausted characters you have. So you'd run a 4-wide deck, you'd roll out all your characters, you would use this card to draw 4 cards. You could cycle it through your deck a couple of times with some other cards in order to draw your entire deck. Now they're saying you draw the 4 cards, but you have to set 4 cards aside, or however many cards you end up drawing. You have to set them aside, like not even discard, like set them aside. They basically just made this card unplayable.
It doesn't make any sense. Like, why wouldn't you just?
That was the weirdest one.
Why wouldn't you just say this card? You can no longer play this card.
They don't want to ban anything.
That's essentially what they did. I agree.
This makes no sense. Set that many cards from your hand aside.
Does that mean do I get
yourself for 4 cards?
Yes.
So here's the question though. Do I get to draw those 4 cards? Look at the 4 cards. Look at the cards I have in my hand. And just set aside 4 cards.
Correct.
Not the 4 that I chose. So I can, these are better, get rid of this crap.
Yes, that is correct.
But still
that's what you're doing.
Yourself for 4. Exactly. Or whatever. 2, 3, whatever.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, I agree. I still think, why don't you just say, we're going to chuck it? Because this does make that nobody played it before until, now nobody's going to play it again.
Right?
I think maybe it should have just then set that many cards back into your draw pile and
at the
shuffle
bottom
or something.
At the bottom of your deck,
they might as well have just said, this card should have no text.
Yes.
Well, because then what's the point of it? I draw 4 cards, I go, woo! Throw them up in the air, and that's...
No, it's changing your
Make
hand.
it rain!
Just make your hand change, and and discard however many cards.
Yeah.
Dumb.
Bye award ceremony. You are now.
Award ceremony really cripples that draw engine that OTK decks were relying on. The next one is Long Con. Originally, the idea was if Long Con was in your discard pile, you could play Long Con, the second copy, and gain 3 resources.
Mm-hmm.
But what had happened was a lot of people who were playing these OTK decks had figured out a way to cycle the second Long Con. So you keep pulling it out of your discard pile and keep gaining those 3 resources in order to play all the other stuff. Now they're saying gain 1 resource for each other copy of this event in your discard pile. So you can only ever gain 1 resource from playing Long Con. So basically, they should have said this card has no text.
Well, I think they changed it from looping for 3 resources to looping for 1 resource.
Right.
So you can still loop it.
You could, but you still have to have one in your discard pile.
Is that a free card to play? It's a 0 cost card?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 0 for a resource. Yay. Play Yoda, people. Get more resources that way. Or anything else. I don't know. I mean, it's a card that we saw in these cycle decks, these draw everything decks, just to gain the resources quickly. And now you're not going to be able to gain nearly as quickly. So
yeah.
So these 2 erratas were very much in the try to cripple those. I think the current form is the Shadowcaster. Mod up a Shadowcaster like crazy and then like reactivate it 17 times and pummel your opponent in the face. Originally started with the Launch Bay OTK from last sets.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're gone. Goodbye.
Deck 104 brings up an interesting point that
I agree.
if there's a reason to dig through your deck, then maybe award ceremony could come back. But I don't know. Even then,
we could see that happen again.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it gets reprinted.
It won't.
Yeah. And are you willing to lose the 4 cards in your hand so you can dig out 4 new cards? Or dig for 1 card. Is it worth it?
Dig for the 1 or the 2. I don't know.
Yeah.
Depends.
I mean, Jeremy seems more interested in if you're going to cycle through your deck, it's to draw cards and then put the other cards underneath the deck.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Almost every draw mechanic in the past 2 sets has done that. So I think, Award Ceremony is just one of those that, back when the game was built to be more casual than it has become, I think, they didn't care.
Yeah.
Now they got like, oh crap, gotta fix this. The next one, they actually made Sienna Reed's action a power action. So you can only do it once a turn. No one seemed too terribly upset about this. Makes sense. Because in those resource generation machines, you could use Sienna Reed, pay 2 resources several times on a turn to ready a vehicle. And you imagine doing that with a modded up anything, not Falcon, but like Shadowcaster, or any sort of major vehicle. So smart play there, slows that down. And then last but not least, strategic planning. It used to be ready or exhaust a support. Now you can only ready a support that has no mods because it's just too powerful otherwise. How many resources is it to play? Or $1 to ready a support that's got 3 mods on it.
That's
like
fair.
That makes total sense.
Yeah, 1 vehicle that can swing like 10 damage easy.
And I'm pretty sure strategic planning was like, of all 4 of these cards, I think strategic planning is the only one that is still legal because it was reprinted in the 2-player set.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I think you're right.
So if you look at the Trilogy Holocron, the only errata on it is strategic planning. So there you go. Strategic planning is important to remember that you can only ready a support that has no mods.
I do feel like after looking through this though that it is wise to take a look at this to refresh yourself before you go out and play in a big tournament, because there's a lot of stuff that has been altered ever so slightly that is not on the card, and you may need to just be aware of it so that you don't have it in your deck or that somebody else does it. But there's a little bit of homework to do there at this point. What is that thing? It's like 31 pages now, I think. The
rules reference, yeah. Honestly, they've done a good job of keeping the holocrons down to a page that even if minutia of the play rules, you don't have the rules reference with you. Having the holocrons printed, even for your casual players. I mean, if you're a super competitive or if you're like a you're a very regular player out there, and you know people who just aren't, people who don't follow podcasts, who don't watch YouTube videos, who just play the game for fun, but come to your local tournament for giggles every now and then, it'd be worth keeping a copy of the Holocron.
Yeah.
Be like, hey buddy, here's some thing that happened, just so you know. That Shadowcaster deck you thought you came up with on your own doesn't work anymore, so sorry for you.
Phooey on you.
Phooey on you. But you know, in all honesty, this was the biggest impact of the rules reference. The only thing I think that was in there that we didn't see on the forums was all the upgrades got changed from character to card, because you can now put upgrades on other things aside from characters. But really, it did, like you said, Kim, it collects it all in one place, and that was important.
Yep.
But it's basically word for word. You can tell that the forum was designed to get rules out there to us faster, because the approval process to get the rules reference through, whether it's formatting or something on FFG's end, or whether it's something on Lucasfilm's end, although I still highly doubt that. It's good. It's good to see that we've had the updated rules, except for Snoke. So what did I see somewhere? Somebody was like, since the date said November 27th, that everybody's win last weekend are disqualified.
Yes,
so the seats should pass down.
That'd be so
yeah.
messed
So
up.
all that editing, and they missed. I'm surprised that why wouldn't they have changed it to be the effective date that they released it? Like, why would they have it backdated? Was that just I'm assuming that was a whoops.
I don't think
because their customer service department likes emails.
Yeah,
That's got to be it.
Qualifying jobs.
Daily. No, because I bet you the majority of the community, Jeremy's email box went kaplooey, like, because he's so easy to reach out to an email. Like,
yeah,
poor guy.
No,
I know what it's like at my job when something goes wrong, and I now know I'm going to get a ton of emails for it, and that's still nothing to probably what he was dealing with.
Sure. Anyways, I think these were all welcome changes. I think the meta will settle just fine, and we're going to see a nice variety.
I'm happy to see the change, so that we can have a more, I don't know, dynamic meta. Yeah. I'm not a fan of the same old deck winning all the time. I don't think that's what this game is about.
It's not good for the game. It never has been. Anytime this happens, people flip tables and quit and sell their collections.
Mm-hmm.
I know a couple. I know. Never mind.
Don't go there.
So we're going to take a short break for a word from our sponsor, and then we'll get back and talking about Convergence.
You know, Mike, I just can't seem to get the cards I need in the booster packs I bought. I'm still missing a Mother Talzin, a Darth Maul, and I need some more battle droids. That 5-wide droid deck isn't going to build itself, and I have all these extra Yodas.
Seriously, Kim, I told you, check out Armada Games. You can buy and sell Destiny cards on their website, shoparmada.com. It's just a few simple clicks and bam, you are done. I used it just the other day, and now I got two Maul Sabers heading my way.
Hey, what are you guys talking about? We're in the middle of a break here.
Jason, you know how you've got all those extra cards from all those booster boxes you open? Mike says you can sell them online super easy.
No way, seriously? How? I've got to make room before this next set comes out.
Jason, whether you're new to the game or a seasoned vet, Armada Games has just what you're looking for. You can buy and sell your Destiny singles all from the comfort of your living room. Pre-order the latest sets of boosters and find the droids you are looking for. You can also check out their selection of Destiny accessories. And you'll get free shipping on orders over $75. For an even better deal, be sure to use the coupon code TheChanceCube and receive 5% off your Destiny purchase. Visit their website at shoparmada.com. Armada Games. Get in here and game.
But you know what I always say. Speak softly and drive a big tank.
Well, we were going to talk about. I know it. We were going to talk about theming in Across the Galaxy this week, but you can't pass up the chance to talk about Convergence, right? True to FFG form, shortly after the release of a new set, they tease the next set. It'll be months before we hear anything about the set again, if they continue with their current cycle of PR. So it'll be probably 2 months before we see another spoiler from the set. Convergence is the next. base set for Star Wars Destiny, it comes with 2 starter decks as part of its release. One's focused around Grievous, one is focused around Obi-Wan Kenobi. It looks like a very Clone Wars solo time frame. But they got characters from all over the place, right? That's just the packaging.
Can I raise a question though?
Kim, you're always here for good questions.
How many Grievouses do we need to have?
Just one that'll work.
Well, haven't found that one yet. So
I mean, they're trying.
I'm excited about the Obi-Wan, that particular time frame for that character. But I went, Jiminy Crickets. Like, thematically, it makes sense. I get that. But good Lord. I'm not, like... And to your point, Mike, yeah, like, he just keeps showing up, but he didn't do anything.
No, he never does. I
wonder if this one has a cough.
I don't think they understand how to take care of him, because he's such like a powerful character that you can't like underpower him and you can't undercost him.
Right.
I don't know. Hopefully he'll fall into his niche somewhere. I don't know.
I think the biggest frustration about this set, and we've been calling for, we would love for starter decks that are playable in a tournament scene right off the package. These are not, yet again. They're 20 card decks plus your starting lineup.
Maybe those other 10 cards got caught up in auditing and editing.
I think someone said once it had to do with cost of packaging and make it affordable, but
that's stupid.
I think
I'm sorry.
I think
those cards are a nickel a piece. Whatever.
Right. They could probably price it up $2 to cover that cost and get more sales, because people would buy one to play in an event.
Well, then you could have well, then everybody had the same decks. Never mind. I was thinking you could have more, you'd have another option for a sealed, but it would just be everybody playing the same deck, so that wouldn't work. But
they could sell a supplemental package, right? Add 10 additional cards for like $5 to make your deck playable. That'd be money grabbing. Anyways,
we'd be bitching about that.
Wait! FFG money grabs? No, that can't.
Keyforge, what?
But yet again, they're not money grabbing because local areas are out of product around here. So
really, I have some I can ship you.
I'll just wait.
The other thing I noticed about the starter decks, which is nice, it seems like they come with a plot. There's a starter plot for each one of them, so that's a nice touch. Plots are a newer card type for us, so it's nice to see them in a starter deck, get them in the hands of new players. There's always an excitement around base sets, I think, because it does it tends to reinvigorate a player base and gets new people into the game. So hopefully we'll see more new players. It also says with the release of Convergence, we will see the end of the Awakening cycle for standard events, which is the majority of the events that are out there. So goodbye Awakening, Spirit of Rebellion, and Empire War. You will not be missed, I don't think.
Nope.
Have you guys seen the meme that is Sabine talking to Iron Man saying like, I don't feel so good because it's taking from Avengers that they're gonna...
Oh, the snap. It's the rotation of the snap. That's funny.
Yeah.
But we thought, we don't have a whole lot of time left here, but we'll kind of skim through the cards they spoiled for this set and give you some of our thoughts, especially when we get to the new card type that they're introducing for this set. Lots of characters. They spoiled lots of characters for us. Right off the bat, a new Jabba the Hutt, a new Captain Phasma.
I dig that Phasma.
Jabba,
just even for the art.
Oh, yeah, the art is Phasma is beautiful. The Jabba character allows you to search for bounties, which gets up into the new card type that we're going to talk about later. Otherwise, kind of a lackluster character at 10-13 with 10 health. Not terribly thrilling, but maybe we'll see some really cool bounties come into play that make this worthwhile.
Yeah.
No damage sides.
Yet again, it's a Jabba who's just might not get there.
Yeah. I like his subtitle, Influential Kingpin.
That definitely is him. I hope that there's some good bounties or yellow events that really help him do something.
Yeah.
We'll see. Yeah. We'll see what it is.
Phasma sitting at a 1 range, 2 range, 2 focus, which is nice. A shield and a resource and a blank. 1821, so on the higher point value with 12 health. Oddly, at this state in the game, I feel like that's a lower health for an 1821 character. You may resolve your trooper dice showing damage as if they were melee damage. So, getting into the it's only showing damage if it's being resolved. Blah blah blah. From the Atari Strike ruling. Am I rambling now? You're looking at me strangely.
No, I've been curious on why you would want to resolve your range damage as melee damage.
Well, you could have trooper. Well, I guess there's a couple things, right? So you could have, you maybe have troopers that have indirect on them, but then you also have that upgrade.
Any trooper dice. They're only talking about the first order stormtrooper. As the power action die. Okay.
And I guess hers would count too, though, because hers is character leader trooper.
Yep.
Right. So her die would be a trooper die.
I mean, it makes her a nice pairing for blue. It could make a nice pairing for or the
just too costly though.
There's that upgrade that was legendary that no one ever played, stealthy, that gives your character a trooper subtitle. So I don't know, you can make some use out of that. Maybe that's a little combo-y. Power action, roll 2, set aside first order stormtrooper dice into your pool, set the dice aside after they are resolved or removed. So that's pretty solid.
That's nice.
Yeah.
And then there's that really cool plot that goes with this. But
yeah. Next up we have the commando droid, which is kind of your minor character in the starter deck. Character droid. After you activate this character, you may activate one of your droid characters or supports. So add some speed to the game. Nice. 1 range, 2 modified range, 2 indirect, a resource, and a blank. Solid 4 damage signs. You don't see that too often. And then a reprint of the first order stormtrooper with new art. So a card people were hoping wouldn't rotate out. I guess. I mean, 7 points. The first order trooper seems to slot into a lot of decks.
Yeah,
they're handy. Yeah,
and 50% damage is pretty good. Although those 2 blanks come up a lot, I'll tell you what.
For sure.
But there's a thing for that now that I'm super excited about.
Kim's really excited. She's waiting. She's not saying anything until this slot
super excited. Let's talk about our buddy Grievous.
Grievous. Yeah. The starter character in the villain deck. 1 range, 2 indirect, 2 focus, a shield, a resource, and a blank. 9/12, so a cheaper Grievous, right? The cheapest Grievous we've seen so far at 9 health. He allows all your droids to have 1 less point for them. And then his power action says reroll any number of your droid dice. So really kind of building on that droid theme idea. And reroll any of your droid dice. So I'm assuming any supports that are droids as well. Also apply.
Yeah.
So you could really build around that. Could be interesting, especially with Afra.
He might get there, Mike.
He might
get there.
On a droid build, it would for sure have to be like some sort of droid build.
Some sort of maybe a 3-wide Grievous and 2 others. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, you could probably play him normal for 9 points and still have, you don't, maybe his die is not as important as his text. Who knows? Mace Windu's also showed up at 11 health with 16 point value. 1 melee, 2 melee, 2 melee, 2 focus, a resource, and a blank. Power action, look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You may play an upgrade from among them, place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. If that upgrade was played on a Jedi, give it a shield. So lots of subtitle referencing, card subtype referencing in this.
Why are we getting another strong Mace Windu? Like, this is not a...
I wondered that too.
Shabby Mace Windu at all. 12/16, 11 health, 50% damage, 2 focus, and a resource, plus a solid power action. I don't...
Yep.
This guy's gonna be tough. I'm sure we'll see plenty of builds with this guy here. Not looking forward to that.
He's pretty solid. I would say, yeah, he looks solid.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that there's been a lot of 2 focus sides too? 4 of these 6 characters have 2 focus sides, and so does Obi-Wan Kenobi, the starter character for the hero deck. He's got 2 melee, 3 melee for $1, 2 focus, 2 shields, a resource, and a blank. Power action, resolve one of your dice showing a value of 2 or more, increasing its value by 1. 14, 18 point values, so it's kind of a weird spot for point values. And then 11 health with him.
Yeah.
He's
I would
paired
have
with
liked 12.
He's paired with his love interest, Satine Kryze. Sorry if you haven't seen the Clone Wars.
Spoiler.
Spoiler alert.
2 indirect, a focus, a resource. 2 resources for $1. I always think that's funny. And a blank. 10, 18. After you activate this character, you may reroll one of your dice. So kind of meh, I think.
Yeah,
she'll be used for her focus, if anything.
Yeah.
Because that's cheap. That's cheaper focus die than Yoda. Although Yoda's power action's really cool, but
you're playing her for access to yellow, and 8 cost for 9 health is not a bad trade either. In like a 3 wide, where she's giving you focus, a little bit of resource, and some indirect. I'm sure she'll see some 3 wide play.
You think she'd make Obi-Wan unfocused?
Hey, next
wow.
cards.
That's a lot of characters they revealed in this this batch here.
How many of those were legendaries?
There were 4 starters, 2 rares, and 2 legendaries. I think the character lineup's interesting. I think more focus on the subtype of characters. Also, subtypes are cleaner, right? There's leaders, scoundrels, troopers, and droids, and Jedi. So they're really cleaning that up so they can start referencing them more, and I think we'll see a lot more of that in this next cycle. I think Jeremy really wants that to come into play, especially from a thematic standpoint. They gave us 1 upgrade, Mace Windu's lightsaber, a unique 3-resource costed legendary upgrade, 1 melee, 2 melee, 3 modified melee, 2 shields, a special, and a blank. It has a power action, spot Mace Windu to move this upgrade to him. And then it has a special, deal 2 unblockable damage to a character. Then, if that character has 1 remaining health, defeat it.
Do you think Samuel L. Jackson has a thing in his contract that all art depicting Mace Windu has to depict his likeness?
This is alien version, though.
Isn't it a little weird? Isn't it a little weird?
His head is oddly shaped.
So that's half of the legendaries from the set. I just want to point out.
Wasn't another one of Mace Windu's cards a finisher like that?
Yeah, that's kind of his theme, right? Mace, his.
It was if it was
the last character, right? If it was, or maybe it was his last.
No, it was. If there were 2 health, you could just automatically defeat them.
Yeah, if it was 2 health, yeah.
If there were 2 left on one of your characters, or one of your opponent's characters, then you could just be like, "Nah, you're dead."
I like how they keep that kind of theme. Yeah. They showed us 2 plots: force flow, action, set this plot aside, turn a die to any sides. This is a starter plot that for the, I would assume the heroes. Yeah, because the villains were all red, so the heroes. It's a neutral plot. Will be in the hero starter deck.
Yeah, in the hero starter deck.
Set this plot aside, turn a die to any side. For 2 points, you get to turn 1 die to a side for free. That you could then. That's expensive.
That's one that you just. Oh, look! I have 2 extra points. I guess I'll stick that in there. That's what that plot is. Because I didn't bring my other plot cards to look through those instead.
That is a starter.
I guess that
if I've ever seen one.
The nice thing is, you could use it when the opponent's claimed, and then you have guaranteed flippage.
I guess.
I don't know.
Once.
I
don't care about that one.
Kim, you care about this one.
This is the card that saves this game for me. So,
card for us, Kim.
Thank you, Jeremy, for putting this card in here, because you tried with Gungans to give me an out for my poor rolling abilities and said, here, we'll make blanks worth indirect damage. And I went, that's really cool. I appreciate it. I'm going to roll resources and stuff and miss all the blanks this time. So now, Advanced Training is a 2-cost plot that allows you to resolve your trooper die showing a blank as if they were indirect damage that have a value of 1. So now my blanks aren't worthless, which means I probably still can't roll them. But
yeah, you just keep rolling resources.
I'll just keep rolling resources. I was so excited. In fact, my kill, not this my kill, but the one that was above my kill, As soon as they saw that card, he tagged me in our local group and was like, "Kim, look, it's for you," and it totally is.
Nice.
So now I have to build I have a Gungans deck, and now I have to have a Trooper deck. So
Can I say this is the best art we've seen so far?
I
These
dig
super
that
here.
one.
I
Do you think
some
over the
alt art.
Phasma? The Phasma with the flames is pretty amazing too.
It's pretty
from
good,
this
but
set.
I think that I don't know. I like this one.
I'd take
better.
a full art of that one. That would be cool.
Yeah.
Hint, hint. FFG. Hint, hint.
Hint, hint.
I like it. It's not. I don't. Nah, I don't think it's too OP. But it's. I mean, can you imagine like just a bunch of troopers out there? You could play 4 First Order Stormtroopers and this plot.
I love it.
And
Send me all your troopers.
There you go. And last but not least, they revealed a new card type for us. It's been long enough since they revealed the last new card type, so here you go.
Weird.
The design of these makes me turn my head upside down because the card looks so upside down. With the art on the bottom and the text on the top. This is a downgrade. If you've been living under a rock and not heard about these and only listen to this podcast, well, thank you. However, they talked about downgrades. This is a new card type coming with Convergence. These are upgrades. Sorry, these are cards that you play on your opponent's characters. I think that's why they're designed upside down.
Thank you. Okay.
Downgrades. They have subtypes too, which is kind of neat. The first one is 1 resource to play. It's called Wounded. Attached character has 1 less health.
It's just a flesh wound. That's a different whole thing, but I love that they put it on that card.
Interesting. I mean, if healing becomes a big thing, if healing becomes a big thing again, I could see this being relevant, but I don't know. This one doesn't tickle my fancy as much as the other two do.
These are cards that are going home with someone else, and if you don't pay attention to your deck.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't. Right now, this is just like plots, but this takes up space in your deck. So are they really that advantageous to take up space in your deck?
0 for 2 resources, 0 for draw 3 cards. I don't know. Those are pretty good. You're gonna defeat characters.
Yeah.
That's gonna happen.
The 2 0 cost ones I see happening much more likely than the wounded that's gonna cost 1.
I mean, it's $1 for one wound token, I guess. I don't know however you want to say it.
Yeah.
One
but is
damage.
But it's like, so that's 2 damage. If you make this a 2 of, I'm just trying to think, is it really worth the deck space?
Sure.
The other 2, I agree with you. 0 cost for 2 once you kill that guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a 1 of. I don't know.
Yellow, neutral, downgrade, wanted, 0 resource to play. After attached characters defeated, you may gain 2 resources. These are both bounties, right? Wanted and Deathmark is a villain downgrade. After attached characters defeated, you may draw 3 cards. So they pair nicely with the Java that lets you search for downgrades, or lets you search for bounties specifically. I like the idea of bounties. It feels like, I still want like some sort of quest mechanic in Destiny. I think this is getting really close, where you have to accomplish something, and that's really what bounties kind of turn into being. Like, you have to I'm going to defeat this character, and once that happens, I get 2 resources, which can come strategically at any time if you roll right. But no, I dig them both. I think it's an excellent design space for them to play in. I don't know how much downgrades are going to take the place of upgrades, to your point, Kim, right? Or downgrade's going to start falling in your kind of event slot.
Yeah, that's what I would think. Is it fall in an event slot?
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, neat idea.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued by it.
Hope we see more. And again, it could be like plots, right? The first time plots came out and they were like meh, and then like they got amazing.
Well, and they ease you in on it. You know what I mean? They give you some that are fairly simple and straightforward, so that you get used to the concept of that particular card, and then they start to make them, okay, maybe I will build a deck around this.
Downgrade, exhaust this downgrade to exhaust this character and do a handstand.
Whoa.
I know some card games, some LCGs and CCGs, they're a lot younger than this game, and they have a lot more Like,
gosh, we're talking about this at that point.
Combo-y things. Yeah, well, I mean, they're games that have only been out for going on their second set, and they're like having a ton of comboing stuff. So I don't think it's out of the question to think that we can start getting to the point where, you know, one card is chaining 6 cards down the line, so you can, you know, reactivate your character for the third time or something like that. And it's not going to be a big deal. It's going to be kind of standard. I think they're maybe just easing us in a little bit slower than a lot of other games.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's almost like you can sense the change in design philosophy, right? Especially with Jeremy coming on board, who's, you know, longtime competitive card gamer. And you know, this game going from what they thought was going to be a niche casual game in your living room to, you know, being probably their most successful competitive game they have in their arsenal, at least, you know, maybe right behind X-Wing. Especially from a card game standpoint, certainly their most competitive, at least their biggest draw. So hopefully we see more, like I said, more of that really kind of starts to tickle the fancy of the competitive players, but still it's accessible enough that the player base can continue to grow, especially with the set, some new starter decks, which look awesome. I'm excited. I think there's always something new about it. And once the new base set comes out, I think Legacy's had the same kind of buzz around it. And now that this is going to see the end of the Awakening cycle, which has kind of got our strongest cards in it, we're going to disappear, and the game will feel. I think it will. I think we can get to that spot that you're talking about, Mike. Right? That really kind of combo-y. I don't know. I know where I'm going. I lost my words.
A combo heavy meta.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So.
All right.
So we rambled on long enough about Convergence. Any final thoughts about Convergence, you two?
I like all the art. There's been a lot of good art.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that.
I think they're getting used to like dropping sets on top of each other, and maybe there's a lot of people wanting that, but you know, like as a media creator, you know, a content provider, I feel like we need a little bit more time to simmer on sets, and a little more time for metas to kind of shake out, because I don't want to get to the point where, you know, the standard format's only seeing a set for, you know, less than a year, you know, like 4 quarters, so or less. I don't really want to get there. I want to be able to see these sets simmer for a lot longer, and I don't know, maybe that's just me. Maybe that's me being stingy,
I agree with you.
But product gets very expensive too, you know.
I don't think we needed that right now. Like, I think there's enough happening. I don't necessarily think we needed them to tell us about that new set right now.
Maybe 4 or 5 sets ago, where we had kind of hit that lull, like Mike had talked about, where it was kind of getting a little bit stagnant and there wasn't a lot of new things happening. But now every set we're getting dropped, like, you know, major mechanics and things that are changing the game and the build philosophy and just making it a more competitive game. So maybe we can kind of simmer on the sets a little bit longer, but that's messing with somebody's money too. So I don't want to tell someone not to print their own money.
Sure.
Yeah.
Kim?
No, I think Mike hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Like, I think
agree.
that's where we are with it, but
it does make it more challenging for those of us out there who we have to decide: are we reporting on the future, or are we looking towards the present? And right now we're in the middle of one of our biggest competitive seasons. Right, the regional season is pretty hot for us, and to start talking about Convergence is, I don't want to say premature, but there's a lot that's going to come with it, right? And we knew that it was going to come in March, and Cascade's already started slotting infinite format events in their GQs. So, you know, this is probably the last time that there's going to be so much buzz around a set, because there's so much changing. We've got to get used to a new thing, and then I think from here on out, it's going to be pretty routine as the game continues to just develop and grow. So, so normally at this point in the show, we go over your answers to a question, but since we changed the show, we're going to hold off until next week. You still have a whole nother week to head over to our Facebook page. Let us know what your Across the Galaxy favorite themed card is, favorite card from a thematic standpoint. And we'll talk about those answers next week when we get back to the here and now. We talk about things that have been happening in Destiny this minute. Thank you all for watching this week.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Have a good week, you guys, and we'll catch you next week before the holiday break stuff.
Subscribe, notify. If you're a Twitch Prime member, hit sub. We appreciate it. If you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and notify. If you're on a podcast, you know what? If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, give us a review.
Yeah,
the last review was 2 years old.
Nobody has reviewed the show since I've been on it.
Give Mike Hill some love, you guys.
Well, no, it's been a long time since we've got some reviews, and the reviews we got were pretty bad, so let's fix those. People weren't very nice to us in the reviews.
So we'll see you next week. Next week will be our last show of the year, and we're going to take holidays, of course, but we'll see you guys next Tuesday night, 9 p.m. here on Twitch, and on Wednesday we'll drop on your favorite
podcast
platform on YouTube. I'll stop talking. Mike, just roll us out.
Oh boy. Bye guys. Have a good week.
This has been The Chance Cube, a Star Wars Destiny podcast, a non-profit organization dedicated to building community through gaming. Visit our website for all things Star Wars Destiny, including our price watch, meta tracker, and latest articles from the Chance Cube family. Find our latest videos on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and visit us at patreon.com/thechancecube. Your patronage allows us to grow this program and help us give back to the gaming community by sponsoring events, giveaways, and supporting our own community building initiatives. This is Mike Hill, the voice of the Chance Cube. Thanks for listening. The Chance Cube is not affiliated with Fantasy Flight Games, Lucasfilms, or the Walt Disney Company.